Hey folks, this is Tolly and welcome to some more game dev. We're finishing up chapter 1. Honestly, I went to the wrong location on YouTube. I have to restart. I already did the intro. I'm just going to skip it. Point is we're working towards getting chapter 1 done. We're doing some animation stuff. Next week, we're going to be focusing on trying to get the build on Steam no matter where we get to, even if we don't get chapter 1 fully complete. I will be working on Steam off camera because it's going to be a lot of doc reading. And then once I figure out and get a build working on Steam, we'll come back and probably do streams. Hopefully this only takes Monday. If it takes more than that, it takes more than that. But no idea what next week will look like. But we're basically 8 days away until my vacation ends. So we got to get a move on. So today we're going to be looking at animations. Drixie has gotten all of the major kind of 5 or 6 characters, depending on how you count them, set up for us in Blender, so they are modeled and have been brought into Mixamo and rigged such that they're working fairly well. We can see the characters have their little run animations, and we can render these out and bring them into Aseprite. I want to focus on trying to get Takashi in first, mostly because Takashi has the weirdest setup with the cape. There are some oddness or odd moments with the way that it Mixamo has auto-rigged the cape and things. We're not super concerned because this is all going to get pixelated anyways, and then Drixie can clean it up, but we're happy with where these things are for now. The big thing now is kind of the grunt work, which I can handle, which is just, animating out all of these different animations and bringing them into Aseprite, setting them up, formatting them, and then bringing them into Unity. Once all that's done, Drixie can come in and do cleanup on the pixel art later. But there's just a fair amount of grunt work that needs to be done in terms of getting all the animations, which is what we're going to work on now. So first things first, I want to grab this character. We're going to set it back to default pose. How do I do that? Is that in here somewhere? There's some sort of pose, reset pose to T. We're going to go back to T pose, and we're going to export this. We're going to save as this file as well. We're going to throw this in a new folder, which we're going to call Takashi, which Drixie has incorrectly spelled, or I'm misspelling. 1 second. No. Okay. Yeah, no, I got it. We're good. So we're gonna name this file and then save that, and then we're gonna rename this here and here. Okay, then we're gonna select both of these, the armature and the actual geo, and we're gonna do a file export FBX, and we're going to send that out here, and we want to make sure that we're only doing the selected objects, only the armature and the mesh. And I'm unsure whether or not I want to be sending out the animation data or not. Let's say yes, and export that. Now, ideally, we should be able to go into Mixamo, and we should be able to upload that character into here. It should remember all the weighting that it had done because it auto-rigged it for us in the first place, and that's looking pretty good. And we're going to need a couple of different animations for Takashi. So we need a run. Which run are we using, I wonder? So this is one thing that we did not document super well, but if we look at Hero, Hero's run is pretty basic. I just don't know which one of these we're using, because there's several different versions. It could just be this one. Head forward, arms going back and forth, V formation, legs together. Yeah, it might just be this one, actually. We'll go with that. So we're going to download that one. Download FBX. We're also going to need an idle. We will throw this into Takashi. We'll call this running. And so for a lot of the other characters, we can use some of Hero's animations, but because of the cape, you know, it's just not porting the animations across the characters. I'm not entirely sure why. Something about the way that it auto-rigged the skeleton is just kind of fundamentally different, it seems. And we have not been able to solve that, so we're just going to move on. Now, which idol did we use for hero? All right, we're going to make sure this is open. We're going to also make sure I can see chat. We're good on that front. Cool. So in here, what does the idol look like? Just a simple head move, a little bit of arm movement. We're also simplifying these down a lot, simply by the nature of reducing this down to essentially 8 frames. Neutral idol actually looks closer. I think neutral idol is what we used. I need to not be minimizing all of these constantly. All right, so download. We'll get that idol. What does Takashi also need? Neutral idol will save. CPR was one that I wanted. Yeah, we had found this one while looking through the files, and Takashi has a scene in which he's trying to keep Usato alive, but I don't think we need this part. I think just simply like stopping the blood is going to be enough. Can we get that to look like it's looping? Close. That's going to be good enough, because again, it's going to be reduced down to 8 frames, so we'll grab that one. We'll download that. Put this in here. I have a couple of cutscenes where I want Takashi fighting, so we can do melee. That looks pretty close to the one that Hiro is using. I'm less concerned about the melee attacks. That's a punch. What are we using? That's an impact. Oh, this file may not have all of the animations we ended up using. Because we definitely have like a sword attack that we use. Let's open Aseprite. What does it look like in pixel? Somewhere in here we have sword. I think that might be the same swing. Yeah, that looks very similar to me. So we're going to grab that as an option. What is another like attack we could grab as a... Don't want the 2 hands. Oh, that's cool. I don't know if it'll read when it gets reduced down, but we can give that one a shot. It's a little overly dramatic for what I'm looking for, I think. No 360s. Melee combo. No. Maybe? Do like a good kick. Big fan of a kick. Yeah. And then I think there was a talking animation that we had found. Some of the original files are on Drixie's computer, so I'm regathering some that we had thought looked good. Interesting. I'm not seeing the one I'm looking for here. These are all talking on cell phone. I think the thing we had done was Emotion, and Emotion had given us a lot of really good options for just like random animations we could use during cutscenes. Yeah, this is one of the ones. I don't know if that's going to reduce down well, because that's a very long animation. It might need to be trimmed custom, but we'll give it a shot. And then... Oh, I have a spot in one of the cutscenes where I'd like to use this one. Just at the grocery store, picking out every single thing I like. This is probably good enough. You know, this might actually be a better option than the CPR one. We're going to give this one a grab also. Okay. Yeah, emotion is a good keyword here. I feel like that is pretty solid. Last one, laugh. I want to see if there's anything good for laugh. The thing with the pixel is it needs to be almost overly exaggerated. I don't know if that's going to read, but we'll give that one a shot as well. Okay, cool. So we've got a bunch of FBXs that we've downloaded that we'd like to get into the game. So we're going to turn off this one. We're going to open up Takashi's rig. We're going to, you know what's going to be fastest is we're going to just make a new collection. We're going to come in and we're going to import each of these. Actually, can we mass import? If we do import and go into Takashi and then select all of these, except for the original one we exported. That does bring them all in. Nice. Now, is that a ton of extra animations too? Hard to tell. So for Armature 3, if we do... There's several layers here. If I just run this, this is not going to animate properly. But if I go in and I choose... One of these is actually the animation for each one. I'm going to guess it's the layer 0. No, it's not. It might have been a bad mistake to import everything. Yeah, like, why are we seeing Yuta's stuff here? That looks more right. That's like a hit animation, but the arm is broken. This is armature.003. That's the one we're looking for. Okay, so this is CPR. We're going to rename that. And then we're going to delete this one. Oh, it didn't like me doing it that way. That's fine. We're going to come into here. Armature 4. Is it this one? That's the Neil. Okay. We'll rename that. And then we can delete this. This one here. We're looking for layer 0. Okay, so it was only the Armature 3 that looked to be broken. What is this one? Yeah, I guess this is the major issue with bringing them all in like this. Is it's hard to tell what they are. I think this is the laugh. Yeah, okay, so this is the laugh. We'll rename that to laugh. Can I do delete hierarchy? Does that delete the geometry as well? It does. And then we're looking for layer 6. I'm going to guess that's the idol, but I'm going to move on first because that one's hard to tell. That's dismiss. I think it was called no, but I like dismiss more. It's going to be easier to... whatever, it's fine. We can always rename and modify these. I have literally a recording of me doing this so I can figure out what they were called if I need to. That's going to be the run. Perfect. Layer 9. This is going to be 360 spin attack. Delete hierarchy. This one here. Overhead swing. Sure. Oh, what did I do? I hit select. It's fine. All right, and then 11. That's the kick. That's unfortunate. We probably wanted to rename all of these with Takashi because of the fact that they're all going to be unique. See if I can fix that. Because there are other characters with other animations in here. And then I think we were done with 11. This is talk. Okay, and then last but not least was this one, which I now am pretty positive is the idol. Why is there still two versions? Why do I see two? Oh, because turning off the armature doesn't turn off the model. Okay. So then we're going to check this one. This is the idol. Okay. The only one I didn't see during that test was run. It's not that one. It's not that one. Okay. Cool. So now we should be able to delete this entire hierarchy, and we can go into the rigged version here. And if we've done this right, we should be able to go through each of these animations and apply them. We have not done something right. Why did that break? Okay. I think there was a bad animation stored, is my hope. No. We broke something. We broke something really bad. Okay, Well, that's some origami. All right, fine. Let's reopen this file. We'll save as incremental in case we can make some sort of salvage of this, but I think we're better off just like starting over. And that's what I get for trying to do all of the animations at once. Yeah, let's make sure that if we turn on pose mode, this character is running correctly. I'm going to try appending from the other file actions, and we will grab all of the animations that we want to bring over. So we want to bring over all the ones that we named as Takashi's versions. We missed Neil. That needs to be renamed. Overhead swing is good. I'm probably missing some, but we can take stock after we try bringing these over first. Okay, so now all these animations should exist in this folder. So we should be able to click on them and immediately breaks. Okay. Start from scratch. Okay, what did I do wrong? So if I bring in this FBX, let's do run, one of the most basic versions. We're gonna rename this. We know it's the latest layer, so we can call this run Takashi. Okay. Now if we delete this collection and then come into here, we should be able to choose that new run that we just made. No, it breaks. So it's not letting me bring the armature that we downloaded back into this character. That can be fine. So what we can do instead is we can just not use the original one. We can use the re-imported ones, but it is slightly concerning that if I want to go get more, this might break in the same way. It feels like there's some sort of import-export issue. Yeah, super busted. Unfortunate. I expected this to be a much smoother process. But something is breaking. I'm gonna guess it's the fact that we exported this character as an FBX. Something about the way we've done that has failed us. In the past, when I've done this with Drixie, we always start with the base model. And we send that up, and then we download all the animations after Mixamo has rigged it for us. But this is a situation where I'm trying to take the rigged version and then use it to get more animations, and something about this pipeline is broken, and I don't know what the step is that I am breaking. Okay, let's try importing. Let's start over. Let's open this. Don't save. Starting from scratch. If we turn this back to reset mode, it does look like it works with this animation. If we try and add any of the other character animations, I believe it will break. Yeah, the arm is broken for this one. But if we go and make a new collection, import FBX, run. Like, it could be something to do with like orientation or something. But this one comes in okay. If we turn off the one that we are looking at and we look at its animation on layer 8, we can see that it's running fine. If we name it run Takashi, and then the problem is if we try and retransfer it back to this character, that's where we're running into an issue. If we try and go back here and we say, hey, use that new one that we just brought in. No, now it works fine. What did I do different? Okay, let's not question it. Let's push it down. Let's delete this old track so that we just have the new one we've brought in. Now, we like to bring these down to be just below 9 and then repeat twice because it's going to switch the camera angle. So basically we play the animation 2 times in a row. And that should be set up for us to be able to render it out. We can do a quick test, render animation. This character is not set to render. So that's going to be an important step to turn on. Where's this rendering to? Okay, I'm going to try using the script that I have built that should loop through all the armatures and render all their animations. In this context, it should just be the one. And that looks to have worked. So we have rendered these out. So if we bring the run into Aseprite, it'll realize it's an animation and open it all up for us. And we should be able to see that animation running. Okay, let's try bringing in another one and try and, I don't know, not do steps that are going to break it. So we're going to come back into this collection. Oh, is the issue that I was deleting this too early? Maybe that's what was causing the problem? Is we need to push down and apply it in here first? I don't know. We're going to just go one at a time though. So we're going to do FBX import. So that was an important one. Then idle is the next important one. We're going to come into here. Idle for Takashi. Said his name so many times now I don't even know if I'm saying it right anymore. And then in here we're gonna just do the idle and we're gonna push down, which is gonna put it up here. We're going to change the playback speed looking at the end number here to see when it gets to about 8. It's gonna be a very small number. Playback 0001 05 04 03. That's going to be about right, and then we can double that. We could do 29 maybe. Doesn't matter too much. Okay, and then if we run my script again, ideally it should just output the run and the idle. And if we bring that idle in, we should see the animation. Very subtle movement, but just a little bit. That one probably needs a heavy amount of cleanup, or we need to get an idle that has a little bit more motion to it, but it feels like this one was close to what Hero was doing. Okay, then we'll delete this one. I do wonder if maybe that's it. Maybe it was because I was deleting the FBX before we had finished bringing the animation over. Maybe that's the problem. So we've got idle and run. I want to try kneel. That was a super long animation. Did I just export over it? Yeah, I did. Okay. Yeah, it's like kneeling over a fire or something, but I think it could work for our purposes. So we're going to re-download that one because I just stomped it. Stomped it and it is gone. So we need to bring it back. Save that. Replace. And then in here we can do file. Clicking on the collection 13. So all the files go in here. Import FBX. Kneel. And then in here we just change it to layer 0. Zoom out all the way. Yep. Perfect. Now we can go back to this one. Select that one. Push down. And then change its playback speed to be something basically minuscule. Close enough. Okay, and now when we run through this, if we turn off the other collection, perfect. So that does work. The thing with this though is I think we actually want to separate this out into like a couple of different states, because this is a kneel down and then stand back up again, but for our purposes in our cutscene we probably want to actually turn this into like a kneel down, a kneel idle, and then stand back up. So how do we do that? So let's duplicate this, add track, copy this, paste it. No, it doesn't want me to do that. Fine. We won't do it that way then. Instead, we will have it selected again. Can I push it down as a new track? I can. We can rename this kneel down. And instead of going all the way to the end, what if we go about halfway? I'm just going to guess. Is halfway about right? That looks about right to me. And then if we do the same thing and we go playback speed until we get our frame rate to be just below 9. Then we should be able to see the character kneel down. Oh, and then we need to double it so it plays twice. So kneel, and then this will be from the back angle, essentially. Ideally, we want to try and get this to the end point here, but it being exact is not ideal. We actually want it to overshoot a little bit in most cases. Okay, so that's kneel down. So then this can become kneel idle. And then this would be somewhere between, like, say 100 and 200 probably. And then double this. Maybe more. Change the repeat to 1. What does that look like? It looks like the starting point is still too low. So if we did like 150 to 200, just going to grab 100 frames in the middle essentially. That still has the step down. So what if we start at 200? Or am I just getting something wrong here about the way that I'm doing this? I'm doing something. Oh, we're not looking at the right one. We want to look at this animation. Yeah, we were looking at, I think these like prioritize in order, but if you star it, it makes it so that's the only animation that appears. So this is basically a stand-up is what we've built now. So I'm going to just leave it and kneel up, which is less straightforward than kneel down. Renaming some things for clarity. Cool. So that's the stand, essentially. Could maybe be somewhere more in the middle. No, we definitely want to do somewhere in this range because we want to get to a full stand by the end. Am I wrong about my setup? This frame and this frame should be close to identical. Yeah, they are. Okay. I was thinking it needed to be close to 8, but I think I may have been wrong with my setup on what I'm setting these to. I think these might need to be close to 9, and I think it may matter more than I think that we are pretty precise on that. Yeah, okay. I'm just gonna fix up a couple of these. This, I think, what we want to be just below 9. Sure, close enough. I don't think it needs to be exact, but that'll work out a little better, I think. Okay, so then we need one more of these. So we're going to come back in here. We're going to grab the kneel. And we're going to push that one down as one more track. And we're going to rename this one kneel idle. And then we're going to star this one so that we don't get confused again. And we're going to make this from 100 to say 200. And we will bring the playback speed down so that this is about just below 9 frames. Like so. And then what does that look like? I think that might work. Could we go, say, 190 to 90? So it's still 100 frames in between. I actually think we might want to do 100 to 90, and then we have to change this number. Good. Okay. I think those might be a better set of frames. Okay, so then if we have our character selected, we come in here and we run this script. It should go through all of those and reanimate them. Oh, you know what? Is that true? I see idle. I see kneel idle. I see kneel up. I do not see kneel down. I think that's because I actually... Yeah, I wrote a thing that says it only runs on the ones that have the tick marks. Which I think is actually the muting, but it is what it's named, but it's fine. Okay, and then we should have all of those. Perfect. So then if we grab the first one of each of these animations, bring them into here, Aseprite should be smart enough to figure it out. Here the foot is clipping through the cape, but I think this will be relatively easy for Trixie to clean up. All right, so that's fine. Then we're going to do kneel up 01. Agree. And this should essentially be a stand. Perfect. And then the idle, which we already had. Oh, but we've reanimated it, so we want to re-bring it back in. Aseprite sees it as the same file, so it'll just reopen the tab even though we've reanimated it. Oh no, am I grabbing the wrong one? Oh, I'm grabbing idle. I want kneel idle. This one. Agree. And this should essentially just be like a hovering over someone type animation. Perfect. That will do. There's a world in which maybe we're supposed to go in and like re-weight the cape so that when the kneel down happens, it is not as extreme. But I don't think it's worth the effort. Yeah, okay. We'll say that's good. So now we have Takashi with an idle, a run, a kneel down, kneel up, kneel idle, which is going to be important for one of our cutscenes. I do want to grab some attack animations for Takashi, because Takashi will be doing some fighting in some very specific situations. So we're going to turn off these, turn on this one. Actually, we can leave this one on. And we'll do idle as the default. Okay, so we'll delete the armature here. Oh, we should also do a save incremental. Save as... I'm gonna do 3 because I'm not sure. I don't know. Something seems wrong. So I'm just gonna do 3, and then which attack? I think downward attack is the closest to what we already have. So we'll start there. We'll import this one. We'll rename this, which should be the attack, to downward swing Takashi. And then we can come back over to this one. We can choose that as our option here. And we can do a push down. Highlight this one. Turn off this one. Change the playback speed. Sure. Okay, and then that should be the animation. So then we'll make sure that's the only one ticked. And we should be able to just run the script. I could also just hit render animation at this point. It's basically the same thing, but I don't know, I want to test my script that I wrote. Bring this in, agree. That's an attack, perfect. Do I need any of the other ones? I like the other ones, and we're on a roll here, so I think I do want to maybe bring in one or two more. So we'll do file, import, FBX. Could do laugh. Could do talk. Yeah, you know what? Let's be brave. Save incremental again. We're gonna do a import FBX. We're gonna import laugh, no, and talk. We're gonna bring in all three of these. We're gonna try this again, see if we can make it work. We're gonna have this one do. In fact, can we even just do this change on the original character? Technically, they should work. So if we go look for Armature 003, this one, that's laugh. Push down. This one. Dismiss. Push down. And this one. Talk. Push down. And then we're going to turn off the collection. We're not going to delete anything yet. And then for each of these, we want to get this playback right. I wonder if I could write a script that does this for me too. Because we're essentially just taking this number. What is the math here, actually? Because we're basically doing 294 divided by 8.9, basically. That's not right. Is it the other way around? 8.9 divided by 294? So if we slam that in here, that's not quite right. What if we did 9.9 divided by... No, that goes larger. What was the original number? Yeah, it was 294. So then is it 7.9 divided by... What was the round? Because there was another significant digit. There was. So it was 6.8. and that's pretty close to what we're looking for. Interesting. So the math here is taking the number we're looking for, I guess, is 7.9. I don't know why it's one less than what we think it is. Dividing it by the total frame count of that, and then getting a value and plugging it into here, and then setting the repeat to 2. I mean, this is essentially just looping through those animations. I don't get any syntax on this, right? Like, yeah, no, when I wrote all this stuff, I had to kind of like Google and look at Substacks and stuff for the APIs. But is Solo is the name. So what I need to look up is I need to look up what the end frame is. Can I find the API real quick? If we do Blender NLA strip API script. I found it. It's a bunch of functions. I just don't know how to read this documentation very well. Oh, this looks better. Still no, though. So, like, this one is closer in that I'm seeing, like, is Solo, which is one of the parameters I'm using. But I'm not seeing... what the syntax would be for accessing the end frame, because we need to look at what the end frame is. But we also want to know what the clip is. So that's where it gets a little trickier, because I think we need to... This is actually looking at the clip that's assigned to this strip. Why is this documentation so confusing to my brain? This is not what we're doing here today, but I bet you it would save me a bunch of time. Because we could bring all these in, and then as we were looping through to render them, it just did these modifications. Can I also just do it in here, I guess, technically? Yeah, I can. I mean, that's not too bad. Just nice if it was automated. Okay, so then if we untick these ones, and then we just run the script, that should render out those other 3 animations for us. This folder's getting a bit haphazard. I might want to make it so the output directory is separate, so it actually puts each of these in different folders, because it feels like it's getting a bit difficult to track down the start of each one of these. laugh. Agree. And then finally talk. Okay. I'm going to say that this is probably a good set of animations for the time being. That looks great. Love it. Maybe you wanted to look at that one before rendering it out. Same with this one. Yeah, neither dismiss or laugh are reading super well. Let's take a quick look at them. So they're going to need a little bit of extra care. Let's change the playback speed to 1. Yeah, this one might need to be pulling specific keyframes out. Unlockable characters with the hydration, which I missed. I will do that now. Okay. In order to make this one work, we could probably shave off like a couple frames on each side. What would that look like? Honestly, this could even use less. This doesn't need nearly as many. Could this just be like 100? Where does the animation start? I don't hate that. Okay, so if we did this, 7.9 divided by this value. It's actually these two values. This one doesn't matter as much because this can be modified by the repeat and stuff. What we actually care about is setting the playback speed such that whatever the start and end frames are, it's that number. The difference between these 7.9 divided by the difference between these two values will give us a playback speed that we want so that we get 8 frames on both sides. That reads a little better to me. It's not perfect, but I like that better. Okay, so then I was fine with the laugh. No, the talk was fine. The talk was okay, right? Let's double check that. Yeah, I like the talk. Just a little bit of hand movement, essentially. And it loops fairly well. Up into hands, back down again. Up into hands, back down again. Yeah. Okay, so I like the talk. This dismiss, I think, is looking better to me. Maybe it doesn't read as a no thank you, but I think it reads as something. This laugh is just a head wiggle. Let's play with this one. Let's change the playback speed to 1, repeat 1. What does this look like? Yeah, it's going to be hard to condense that down into 8 frames. So how much of it is just like nothing in the beginning? The first 90 or so frames are just basically moving backwards. And then there's a fair amount at the end here that is basically nothing as well. What if we just dropped it down to 200? That's close to actually being correct. So that's 110 is the difference. So if we do 7.9 divided by 110, That gets us exactly where we want it. It's still not perfect, but it reads better. It's clearer. Okay, so then we'll make sure those are the only two ones checked. I'm also going to save incremental at this point, and then we're going to do rendering for those two. We'll go into Aseprite. We're going to close out dismiss and talk. Or, no, we want to talk, shoot. Laugh was the one that we wanted to replace, so we're going to replace all three of them now. So talk comes back in. We know that that one's done. Is my script done running? Yes, Blender is not frozen. So then we can do laugh and dismiss. Okay. That's mostly reading as a bow at this point. The hand just isn't coming through at all. I mean, I'll take a bow. Is the laugh gonna read the same way then? This one reads better. I'm still getting a little bit more of the laugh, but it almost looks more like hitting something, like smacking a table or something. I have mixed feelings on this one. I don't think this one's working, so we're going to move on. Let's build an actual file for this. So we're going to save as this, and we're going to move this into NPCs. We're going to make a new folder for Takashi, because there isn't one yet, and we're going to name this as such. Now, we need the idle. That's going to be important. We don't need dizzy or interact. I don't think I need a death right now. We don't need melee 1, magic cast, or walk loop. Well, no, walk loop is our run, essentially. So we need that. Get up, we don't need. Idle will be important. We can keep that one. We lost the kick somewhere at some point. I didn't bring that one in. Delete these. What's nice about reusing the shoot one, if we did end up finding the right one, or sorry, the slash animation, which I think we did end up finding one very similar, we might be able to have the sword stay in all the same spots here if we just replace. And I don't need any of these ones. We're going to have to make some new animations. I'm going to get rid of the kick. Okay, we'll start here. So we're going to grab idle, which is one of the most important ones. I've lost it. All right. That was when we were going back and forth and picking the wrong one, I think. So we're going to grab idle. We're going to copy these frames, and we're going to paste them in here and see what happens. It does not align properly. Okay, I was afraid that was going to happen. So what is the size of this canvas? This canvas is 48 by 48. So all of these are going to need to be reduced down to a size of 48 by 48. Okay. Oh, actually, we need to do this a little bit smarter. We need to make sure we're not losing anything here. So this can go down a couple pixels. On both sides, and then I'm gonna just make sure that we're not losing anything here. It's hard to do that. Can I have this playing while I'm changing the canvas size? I cannot. Okay. What is the lowest animation? It looks like here is the lowest. This is... -54 from the bottom. Is there any animations here that look to be lower? Feet are pretty stable there, not too much feet movement. Same thing here, that looks like it would be within the bounds. That still looks good to me. That sits at the exact same spot of 514. Ooh, this cape might actually be going a little low on the Neil. Yeah, negative 513. Okay. Same idea, I think. Negative 513. Yeah. And then the run, I can't imagine has too much dip. No. All right. So all of these need to be canvas size reduced. So we need to do 48 by 48. But the bottom point needs to be at negative 513. And then we need to bring this back down. Okay. I think I can remember that. So we're going to resize each of these. 48, 48. Okay. This might cause other problems, but we're going to see what happens. This is another spot that feels like it could be automated in some way. At the start of the stream, I said that this was a fair amount of grunt work. This is what I meant by that. Like, this is not require, like, this is a lot of effort for, I was going to say for Drixie, but it's for anyone. But Drixie doesn't have a ton of time. And I'd much rather have Drixie focus on making art opposed to having to do a bunch of this stuff, which is not art, in my opinion. Or at least, this is something I can do. Okay. That all looks correct. So we're going to come in here and we're going to take the... We can grab the run, copy that, paste that into our walk, because we use the... Yeah, there's some pixels that need to be fixed here, but that's literally just steal from here, I think. And then just bring them across. Or even from that one. I believe that Drixie can figure that out. Okay, and then for the idle, that's this one. Copy these. Bring them over here for reference. Drop them in. Perfect. That'll do. And then the big one here is downward swing. Is this identical? Will the sword line up perfectly? Close, it looks like. Something looked off there. This one. Yeah, it's all completely off. I wonder why. This looks like a duplication. So I think that's the reason. Is if we come into here, I don't think it'll be exact. But we can try. What frame was that? On hero attack. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 is duplicated to become 5. Does that mean that this animation is longer than 8 frames? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Yeah, it's 9 frames. Okay, so we want to duplicate this frame. Frame 4, we're going to... how do we do this? New frame? Yep, that worked. And then same thing's going to happen here on frame 10. Wait. Did we mess something up? Oh, that's right. Okay, 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. No, that's... my brain's just having a hard time computing this. So this is frame 1, 2, 3, 4. So we want to duplicate this one. I'm going to double check that. In here. Oh, we don't do the same thing on this side. 4, 6, 7, 8. Wow. Okay, we only do it from one direction. That's a little weird. So if we copy these across, paste that in, is that closer? I think the hand was still off either way on this one, but everything else is lining up much better. This is completely off though. That makes some amount of sense. I think this character is just too high in comparison to Hero. If we do this as a new layer, and actually, you know what? Let's copy Hero down as backup, and then I can compare the two. Yeah, you can see the animations are just ever so slightly different on a lot of these. That works. The reason for a lot of the offsetting here, I feel like, is because we just brought all the canvas sizes up so that the character could be positioned better for the kneel. But I think we probably should have done that in reverse. It's not perfect, but that'll work. Is this keeping the frame rate? It should be. It is. Now, ooh, real problem. When we build these things, we add pauses in metadata spots for certain areas. Did we lose that metadata when we copied it over? Okay, let's open Hero formatted. Let's take a look at the attack animation. /. It has a pause frame on 1. So if we look at this one we're setting up here, there should be a pause frame here. There is not. Okay, so when we paste it over this, we're losing those pause frames. Where's the other pause frame? It's on 1, but we have another one right before impact. Looking at slash specifically. I'm gonna guess it's here. Yeah. After the smear. Oh, that's interesting, actually. Hero's arm is hidden on that frame. Oh, so we can't just steal... We actually kind of want to use this frame instead. So instead of doing weapon behind on this frame, we kind of want to grab this one and bring it here. And this one will feel a little different from hero, but I'm not super upset about that. Oh, you know what? I am actually. So the reason this is a problem is I bet you that's where our pause frame normally is. Because we have this one here. Does hero currently pause on this frame? Yeah, that's our impact frame. So by having this one here, it's a problem. What if? Haha. Alright, perfect. And then that doesn't look awful at all. We're just going to erase the 3D geometry. The shoulder probably doesn't feel right here, but again, it's all pixel. It's fine. Now we get into some tricky territory. All these other ones were mostly just placements. I actually want to cross-compare the walks and idols in terms of positioning. Yeah, again, we can see that the placement is off here. Okay, so we don't want to do... I don't think we want to mess with the height. We can manually adjust. Okay, so then how far down am I going to pull on each of these frames? One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. We're losing a pixel, that's fine. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think it's just 2, 3. 2, 3. It's a very different frame. 1, 2. Oh, it's not consistently always 3 down. Yeah, these animations are not exactly the same. To the point where, like, this one, for example, feels very different. Huh. The head position felt most correct there, but, like, I feel like the lean is almost off in some of these. Yeah, like, the position of the feet is completely different in this setup. I'm going to cut off some pixels this way, but that feels like the closest we can get. I have a feeling something's wrong here. Or, like, for the animations to be this far off seems odd to me. Yeah, now the character is, like, zooming around a whole bunch. Like, the movement of the... This is one of the trickiest parts of this whole process, is, like, we can't really just leave it in position because we want to try and get rid of as much white space on the bottom as possible, because that's, like, going to show the character, like, floating, essentially. Another 20 minutes behind on unlockable characters' hydration. Still appreciated, still going to do it. I knew this was going to be tricky to kind of go through this process again, having not done it in a while, but there's some weird gotchas that I'm just not quite sure how to solve, but you know, it probably is fine. For now. I say that, but like, the way this animation ends, it almost feels more like a skip than a run now because of the way things got repositioned, but this one's near identical. So something about the way that we're doing the second animation loop, I think might just be fundamentally wrong in Blender. And I should probably figure that out before I do all the other characters today. So if I look at these animations, we're going to focus on run, because this is one of the most fundamentally important animations for us. So on this first frame, knees here, if we turn on hero, and we have hero in the same animation in Blender, a couple of things. First off, the playback speed, or the repeat in here, is 4, because we used to do 4 different directions. But then the playback speed is 3.8, and it was originally a 1 and then 22. Let's see how these compare. This is a 20. Let's see them 1-to-1. I just want to see if maybe we didn't even grab the same run animation. Yeah, no, this one only has 20 frames. Okay, so it's not the exact same run. Let's take another look at the runs. Like, it's fine for different characters to have different runs, but I think what's going to be easiest is to just get the same one for every character, because then we can make sure that the body positions, like where the head and the feet are lined up the same, and we don't have to spend a ton of time just kind of aligning sprites until it feels good. So we're looking for a run that has 22 frames in it. This one has 21. This one also has 21. This one's head up. This one's head down. This one has 19. Definitely not that one. Is it slow run? Maybe it's slow run that we're using. I think it's that one. Oh, maybe not. This one's actually 23 frames. Where's Blender? What a fun journey to try and figure out which exact run we ended up using. So this is frame 1 to 22 for this run. One to 22, and then if we go look back at Mixamo, this is actually from frame 0 to 22. Yeah. This one's 22 frames total. So I think it is this one. Is this not the one that we grabbed originally? I'm going to re-download this one. We're going to see what this comes up. Running is what this was called. This one was also just called running. So we're going to call this running. We will just give it an extra 1 at the end. And we're going to try bringing this one in. So turn off this one. Turn on this one. We don't need these anymore. We can delete from hierarchy. Should be fine. And then clicking on this, we're going to import that other run, which I think might be the same one we imported the first time, but we're just going to double check. No, they are slightly different sizes. I just need some sort of differentiator on this. And then push down. And then we will delete the, you know, I'm not even going to delete it. We're just going to turn this one off. So this one's now 22 frames. And if we look at Hero, Hero had a... Oh, we messed with the playback speed. This is fine, so we can save incremental. Let's go back to this one. Ignore that. Heroes data was 0.38 whatever, and then 0.4. Okay. Or 4.0. Let's reopen this one. Ignore. So if we change this to 2, that doesn't really change anything. The playback speed is the playback speed. The repeat doesn't affect it. It's just how many times we're going to have that animation run. And so if we come into here and we use the same playback speed with a repeat of 1, that doesn't line up. Oh, because we're still looking at the wrong one. If we go to the new 22 frame one, now that lines up to be 17 on both. Yeah, it does. Okay. So if we come back over to here, star this one, and then hit play on this. It's too hard to see at this frame rate. Yeah, they maintain a much similar... They're much more similar now. Okay, so then we will save this. Make sure we are clicking on Takashi for the script, because if we click on Hero, it's going to take us like 20 minutes to render everything out. We have a new run. I see all 16 frames. Okay. So we're going to do run 22 frames. Agree. We're going to try just doing 48 by 48. We should make sure we're not clipping any frames though. The furthest pixel down somewhere like there. Yeah, that seems fine. Okay, let's just do that. And how close is this one if we bring it over? Much closer. This one's the only one that's maybe a little bit off. We're getting like less foot being revealed, I guess. But like, I'm not super concerned about that. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be much better. And then for the idol... so many animations. I wish that Aseprite had some way of like collapsing these animation tags down so that I could just like, I don't know, I just wish there was a way to more easily look at many animations all at the same time. Okay, so then if we look at this layer, yeah, across the board, we are losing some foot placement if we do that, it looks like. I'm fine with that, I think. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're going to use Hero as a reference for as many as we can. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But for a lot of these, we can't. So if we do this one, there isn't really a good reference we can use because this is a new animation. So it'll be kind of on us a little bit to figure out where we want to position this. Like, it feels like it should be right for it to be down here. But then we lose so much of the cape if we do the same thing. Like, how much did we just move it down by? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pixels to get it down to this point. But then from this angle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe that's okay. Just losing so much data. Again, this will all just become cape though, so like Drixie should be able to clean this up so that we don't even necessarily see the shoe if we don't want to. Okay, let's tag these. So we're going to come into here. What is our standard frame rate of like the idle? Like how long is a frame in the idle animation? 200. The slash is like way less, and then our walk is like 35. It's like crazy fast. New tag. This is Southwest Neil Idle. How do we name these normally? We just call it looping. Okay. Because idle is a special keyword in our system, so we cannot use that term. The import system I have kind of does some crazy stuff with that. And this will be Northwest Neil looping. Is it loop or looping? Looks like it's loop. All right. Okay, so that's the Neil loop. I think we definitely need the stand up essentially. So if we copy these, bring those over, paste these in. We are going to want to bring this down to the same level. So we'll grab all of these pixels or all of these frames and bring them down. I want to grab it the other way so that we know that we're bringing this to the same point. From here to here should look identical, and ideally from here to here should look identical or close to it. Or maybe not identical, but good positioning on the pixels. How much of the foot are we losing when we bring it down? Oh, we're losing a good chunk of the foot. This might be one of those situations where it needs to be different. So this one can come down. This one can come down. This one can stay here. That can stay there. Yeah, we're going to bring down each set separately. And that means that the animation won't be really fluid, but we're not going to lose any data either. So if we tag that, Southwest Neil stand. It works. It's not ideal, but it works. If we do frame properties, change that to like 40, how does that look? It's too fast. 100? Yeah, I feel like I'd like to put more emphasis on certain frames. Like this one. But this gets into like animation tuning, which I'm not very good at. Yeah, this just looks weird. I don't know what I'm doing on that front, so we're just going to change all these to be 100. So it's quicker, but uniformly quicker. Sure. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. Set the frame rate, and we are going to tag it as Northwest Neil stand. And then we're going to have to go through each of these and try and figure out where we went on this frame. So this frame was somewhere like there. Could do turn on onion skinning to try and see the difference between them. Losing a little bit of like a single pixel on the bottom of the foot, but I'm okay with that. Okay. And that's the same thing in reverse. What makes this one harder is now we're losing a bit of like the stand effect. The head position doesn't change very much in comparison to here. But I think that's just perspective, and that's okay. All right, let's say that's good. So we've got the attack, we've got the idle, we've got the walk, we've got the kneel, we've got the kneel stand up. We do not have the kneel down. That's fine for right now. We do not have the talk, the dismiss, and we got rid of the laugh for now. I don't think we need that one. We will grab the talk for fun, though. Okay, so we're going to go to the end of the list. We're going to add new frame. New frame. We're going to change this to go to 81. We're going to delete this one to be clear that it's gone, and then we're going to go to this one. So now the character goes from standing about that head height to this head height. So we do need to bring this one down. 1, 2, 3. Is that going to be about right? So if we compare from here to here, no, not that one. From here to here, the feet's change, but otherwise it's fine. I'm going to say that's okay. And then for this one, yeah, we definitely want to bring this one down 1, 2, I think. Yeah, okay. And so this is going to be new frame, southwest talking, and new tag northwest. I'm actually going to get rid of the ing here. Let's call it talk. Okay, that is a series of animations set up for this character. Wow, we are almost at the 2 hours on stream. In fact, technically speaking, because I had a bit of technical difficulties at the beginning, we're at time. Let's get this in. So let's save this. We're going to file, export. We're going to export this as... what was the naming convention here? Just the name of the file? Sure. So this will be Takashi animation formatted PNG. And this will be going in the right folder. Takashi animation formatted JSON. Cool. And then this will be packed. That's fine. We want to make sure this is array. That's good. Everything else here looks good. We'll export that. Fingers crossed this is the easy part. We're going to come in here. We're going to slice and anim characters. It's going to go through everything, so it's going to take a second because there's not really a great way of specifying which characters you want to slice and anim, so it's going to modify every character. It should find Takashi's PNG. Got 900 errors. That's fun. Hero animations. Animation processor. Oh, that's fun. Whoa, okay. Well, can't be easy sometimes. Enemies. This is for prefabs. We don't really have auto or good quick buttons for going to the art folders right now. Just going to minimize all this stuff. One of the ones that failed was Hero, so let's take a quick look at Hero's animations. Did this break in some weird way? No, Hero's animation is huge, so I'm not surprised that it's complaining. I do see that it generated our format. Okay. We do want to change something in here, which I have not modified correctly. Yeah, it's changing the default on some of these. So this one here, I want to be idle northwest, it looks like is what we usually default to. Ideally, you shouldn't see the character until we've chosen an animation for it, but we're going to set this as the default animation. And if we go to the scene that Takashi should be in, go to their container, and we simply just drag in this animation and the first frame. And then walk into this room with it set to auto load everything so that we don't have to worry about moving even. We should see Takashi just standing here. And then we can debug test moving between the different animations. Concerned about all the pointer errors on Hero, but worst case we delete Hero's folder and regenerate the animations, but I don't really want to do that because it has a lot of custom stuff in it. Okay, well, something's broken. Let's go into here, animator. Ah, perfect. Okay, so there is an issue. Animation. Parser? No. Animation. Anim process? Anim prop processor. Sprite folder? No? What is it called? Anim sprite processor. I believe this has a set series of animations associated with it. And we have just created some new animations that didn't exist before. So what is new here? We had slash. We didn't have kneel stand, or talk. So let's add those to the list. This should really be turned into static list at the top of this function. Or I should spend a bit of time trying to figure out how to auto infer all of this information, but I have not gone around to that. And then looping should be not needed because it will figure out that and pull it out of the name. But we will need kneel stand. Okay, and then is there another section? There is one more here. And this should allow it to import correctly now. Any other spots before I exit out of here? No. All right. clear. And then we're just going to run this slice anim prop, slice and anim characters button, which is going to run that script essentially. And away you go. Oh, I missed first time chatter. If you're still here, the game is a tactical adventure game, is what I've been deciding is probably the closest explanation. The long form answer is it's kind of like a art style of something like Final Fantasy Tactics, meets the narrative of like an anime isekai, born in another world, reincarnated type story, in which you have lots of cutscenes, much story, and then a tactical single character adventure kind of fighting system, grid based when combat starts. That's the short version. Honestly, I should do a more in-depth explanation at some point in like a video form that I can link to. Cool. So that is now working. Let's check some of these triggers to make sure they are doing what we expect. So this is idle by default. So the character is idling. That looks good. We're going to zoom in. If we do slash, good. That looks like it's working. If we change direction, what are our other directions? It's 1, 3, 4, and 6, because we're not using the northeast, southeast options. We're only using north, south, east, west, which in this grid is confusing, I know, but that's what it is. So if we change this to 1 and then do slash, that works less well. I'm imagining I'm not... Something looks off there. That's fine. Walk works. Yeah, that's all working. I'm fine with that. Kneel. Oh, interesting. My system was not smart enough to realize that kneel, stand, and kneel are not the same one. Okay. Yeah, so it interpreted, because it saw kneel in the name, it thought it was the same file. So this needs to be like, it can't have the same word. I'm gonna just rename it to KStand. And we will give that one more import and see how that goes. So we're gonna export sprite sheet with that new file name. We're gonna come into here. We're going to rename kneel stand in here to be KStand. Yeah, because a lot of these things are just doing contains, not like validates that it is whole word, which I'm sure will continue to cause me problems in the future. But for today, we're in a good spot. We're gonna hit slice. And then we'll give this one more shot. I do see kneel and KStand are two different things. Kneel is a looping option. KStand is a one-off. Let's see if this works. So if we go kneel, We are still moving between a couple of different animations, it looks like. Why? What animations are you skipping between? Northeast looping and... Oh, interesting. Because we renamed it, it didn't delete the old ones. I'm going to assume it just added them to the bottom. It did. Yeah, my system is meant to be safety in that I don't want it to activate stuff unless I specifically tell it to. Or I don't want it deleting stuff unless I specifically want it to. Yeah, so getting this timed correctly so that looping ends and then it'll play the stand will be tricky. But this should work for what I need. Because we'll have the other character, Usato, here, and Usato will be dead on the ground, and it'll... I just want it to feel like Takashi is like mending, and then when he is healed, we'll do that stand up. I think that worked actually, so looping will stay forever until it ends. So if we time this so that we hit turn it off and then turn it on, yeah, I think that works out pretty well actually. So we'll want to turn off the kneel first and then play the stand up. And if we do that at the same frame, it should mostly look fine. Cool. So those are the animations I specifically need for Takashi right now. The slash is the only one I'm still a little worried about. But I think it might just be a timing thing. Yeah, something about the timing of that looks weird. You know what? I don't want to mess with this right now. We're already over time. All right, we're going to call it here. We'll be back in 2 hours as per usual. I thought we could get all the animations done in 2 hours, and it ended up taking us 2 hours just to make one character. Now, granted, Takashi has some of the more complicated animations and also requires bespoke ones that we had to download multiple versions for. The hope is that for most of the other characters, it's much more straightforward because we don't need to download special animations. Ideally, we should be able to just use the same animations that Hiro had because we were able to port them. Takashi's cape just meant that we had to get new ones. So for the other characters, it should hopefully just be a matter of clicking the animations we need, like run, idle, and then just getting them to work, opposed to having to refine them. So it should be quicker. And then even here, well, there are some extra ones we need, like defend. Yeah, okay, there might be some more work here, but regardless, they should be quicker because we don't need to go gather the other animations. The question is, do we work on animations when we get back for the second stream? Or do we work on the cutscenes? I think I want to work on the cutscenes, and then I will do the animation stuff off camera. I kind of like having shown the whole process for future me so that I can see all of this in the future if I want to try and figure out how we do animation importing. This was a good kind of video for myself, but I don't need to do that again. So I'm going to try and spend the second stream working on finishing up the final cutscenes that we need, and then I will get the other characters imported over the next few days off camera. I'll be back in 2 hours, actually an hour and 45 minutes at this point, for another 2-hour stream focusing on building cutscenes. For now, though, this is going to be Tolhi signing out. Later, folks.